We now call upon the Mashpia Roshi of Yeshivas Olateira Chaver Vad LaFotzes Sichois Harav Nachman Shapiro to address this Farbrengen. Harav Shapiro.
Chaim, Tjontef, ich finde es doch in der Tag vor Pesach. Dem Jahr weiß man es miyuchet mit dem, was der Quies von Chag Pesach ist dasselbe, wie sie gewinnt bei Yitzias Mitzrayim. Basiri ist gewinnt Shabbos sogar gewinnt Yud, Yeralach gewinnt Sonntag und das Wov ist gewinnt bei Yom Hei. Der Rebbe Masber, also sie Bechlau, doch bei Nissen Nigel und bei Nissen Asiten Ligol, ist doch Bechlau der Zman von Nissen und Far Pesach, das ist das Zman von Sugel Fugule, bei Shas, der Quiz, der Zevi, sie gewinnt bei Yitzias Mitzrayim, ist es noch mehr Madgish, das Zman Agule, ist mehr Madgish, das ist das Zman von Gule, und das ist mehr Mechazik und Magbir, Mechazik, die Tikva, als Kimet Zeis kommt Eretz Mitzrayim, und nicht Floi, soll sein dem Jahr. L'chai. In die Tag, es war bewusst, die Sicher vom Rebben, wo der Rebbe redt, mit der Masse, mit der Schemer, verwusst mir sie gegeben, was sie gewinnt, die Kirche von dem See, von Korban Pesach, gewinnt bei Jud, 4 Tage feiern Yitzias Mitzrayim. Und das heißt, als wenn, wie der Rebbe Masber, wenn es gewinnt, der Peil, der erste Achone, was sich angehen Jud, aber Peil Mamisch, das gewinnt bei Jud Alef. Was gedacht sein, Kirches von der See, dass sie geben 2 Mitzvahs, dann Pesach und dann Mille. Steht der Loschen, wie bald Vaat Eden Berio, wie bald Eden sein nicht gewinnt Royu zu die Gule, sein gewinnt Eden Berio. Und Melot, der Eberster, sie geben Mitzvahs, die ist Asku behem, kedei sollen können herausgehen von Golus Mitzrayim und kommen sicher sein zu die Gule. Fragt sich die Scheile, was darf man ankommen zu 2 Mitzvahs? Sein gewinnt Nacket von den Mitzvahs, und sie darf geben ein Mitzvah, mit was sollen können herausgehen. Der Rebbe redet doch ein Gräser Arichis in dem Kiedua, als sie darf sein 2 Unionen. Was sind die 2 Mitzvahs? Die 2 Mitzvahs ist, Korban Pesach ist, dass sie da wieder Sorge von Mitzrayim. Und noch da der Ingen von Bris Mille, wo das der Eis Bris von den Nebsten. Was heißt das da wieder Sorge von Mitzrayim? Ist Bechloles heißt das Navedes Adam heißt das darf sein, es darf noch kommen Zeit zu Surmera und Zeit zu Asetev. Es darf sein der Mischu Yedechem Avide Zoren und Kulachem Mitzvahs soll sein der Ingen von Asetev. L'cheire, eine von den Büros, was wir kennen in dem Song ist, es ist das nächste von dem, was sie davon haben, 2 Mitzvahs, sei der Surmera, sei Asetev, die ganze Musik von Mitzrayim, doch gewähnt, Parad gesagt, Leidait is Avaya. Steht, als bei Mitzrayim ist gewähnt, das in Golus. Es ist nicht nur Parad gesagt, Leidait is Avaya. Und sagt, Elikim Jana, schleim Parad. Demolte die Keiches Elikim, die Keiches von dem Ebersten, ist nicht das Galle geworden. Das der Teich Mitzrayim ist nicht noch gewähnt in Ashibut Gashmi, dass sie gewähnt in a Golus Ruchni. Elikus ist nicht gewähnt bis Galus. Der Fakt, dass der ganze Linie, was Parad gewollt reinwerfen, der Nilus, reinwerfen, da wäre Sorge von Mitzrayim, was Gorbechlo ist das sein verbunden, was mir nicht zu der Keiches hat Teve von Mitzrayim. In Kedea, Rüsgi, von zu Geule, hat gedacht sein beide Sachen. Hat gedacht sein, Schächten, da wir die Sorge von Mitzrayim, zu sagen, und dem geben wir Ort, zu Keiches hat Teve, darf man sehen, Arob warfen von sich, und anerkennen, und missachet, wer mit dem Ebersten, wo das der Linie vom Bris, was Bris ist, Bipsarchem, als was ist unser Metzies, was Id wird missachet, mit der Kuss, und eben wollen beide Mathe. Und die alle berühren, sie mir hat das verbunden mit Shem Alekim, sie das verbunden mit Shem Avaye. Ist all derich sehr, wir verstehen, jetzt wissen wir das. Und wenn der Rebbe hat gerät, ich gehe als Mango Laschem, hat doch der Rebbe, verstehen wir, alle Unionen von dem Muton ist als Achone zu der Gule. Alle Unionen ist auf Arruisbringen und Gregen sagt zu der Gule. Ist ja Schleimar, a Eichet oder der Ringe, nicht Eichet, sie klar, das ist schon der letzte Achone zu der Gule, für was? Was ist der Ingen, was sie getroffen jetzt? Was handelt sich da? Dass sie geworden, sie kein Mund nicht gewähnt, Asam in Sort, Meere in der Welt, Asam in Sort, Matze in der Welt, aber die ganze Welt und alle Brühe, Hoilom, der ganze Mina Medaber, und bei der Chumele alle, anerkennen, als der Keiches hat Tefe seine Gunst. Keiches, jeder einer, was hat gehad, bis jetzt, was hat gehad, sie hat gemeint, mit Zeit, Keiche weiß im Jodi, sie mit Geld, sie mit Covid, sie Science, sie Refuhe, alle Chochmes und Keiches hat Tefe, was haben gehalten, als sie führen mit der Welt, und das ist die Chshivas in der Welt, sind es Galle geworden, als ein Efes Mamisch. Sie können gar nicht helfen, mit ein kleine Kudel, wenn sie im Ganzen ist Battle. Was bringt es heraus? Bis, als viele Goyim anerkennen, aber darf ankommen zum Ebersten. Das heißt, da ist der Achone, der samme letzte Achone, zu der Geule, zu der Geule Amitis, was schlimm ist, Schechten da Avedisore, was der Teil Schechten Avedisore, oder der Avedisore, was sie da am Metzies von Tebe, was anerkennt nicht, als alles kommt von der Ebersten, das wird jetzt nicht Battle, das im Ganzen ist Battle geworden. Und wo bei wem nicht bei Quutze von ihnen, nicht bei Quutze von Umeseilom, und nicht nach gewissen Orten der Brie, in der ganze Brie anerkennt das. Bis als Goyim halten ihn sagen, aber darf umkommen zum Ebersten. Und das ist der erste Linie, wo das ist der Achone. Beschaß das Keiches hat wissen, alle Keiches, was ein Mensch tracht, dass hat Matzliach gewähnt, hat gekommen zu Asamisot Meile, zu Meile von Geld, a Meile von Keach. Was soll noch nicht sein? Ihr das Einwerfes. Und das bringt, bei der Meile, wie man sagt jetzt, am anerkennt, aber was ist der Emesser Keach in der Brie? Nur Dol Hashem Hamlucha. Der Rebischter ist nicht nur der Manigo Elom, man anerkennt, der Rebischter ist der Beire Elom. Weil keiner kennt sich nicht erkennt und wir sagen sein Bringen nach vor, sie was kennen gar nicht tun. Wir weiß, dass alles kommt von dem Ebersten. Und das sind die zwei Unionen, was jetzt das der letzte Achone zu der Geule, was der Teich rausgeht von Mitzorim und Gewule mit der Teich ist, als alle Darges von Teve seinen gar nicht nur Darge, alle Metzies von Teve gar nicht. Und man erkennt, und man geht da raus von dem, und man erkennt, als Avaya Echot, der einzige Beire Elom, da ein Beire Elom, und das ist der Beile von alles, was ist da in der ganzen Brie. Und das ist Madgisch, und der Achone zu der Geule. Weil das ist schon das Manna Geule. Das ist halt bei Nisgal werden. Der Malchus von der Meibischten in der ganzen Welt, nicht nur bei Jeden, in Meilis in der ganzen Welt hat gedacht, ohne er sagt, als der Meluche und die Balabatischkeit nur von der Eibischten und keiner hat gar nicht keins Ein wie etwas Mamisch. Es ist Klochaschiv. Leheisif, als wie Yitzias Mitzrayim ist gewähne Achone zu Mattenteire, Beziach also Ome Mitzrayim, Tabnese Lekim Alora Zeh, wenn ich gewähne noch Azam in Sort Meere, was hat angerät, die ganze Welt, was hat angerät, die ganze Kaderoritz, die ganze Minanushi, und all derich Zeh, bin min, dem mit Zemea Chaim Daber, ist gewähne nur einmal früher. Ist gewähne bei Mattenteire. Bei Mattenteire ist die ganze Welt gestanden ein bisschen, Eiflich, Zivziv, Zippelei, die Kehl von der Ebersten ist gegangen, von Dal durch das Elom, Schmein Worts. Bis da viel das Elom hat. Sie kommen live und zu Bilemem gefragt, was tut sich? Der gesagt, da war es la am Hitna war über Samba Shalom. Und das sie gewen, Mattenteire, das hat gepeilt in ganz Kaderoritz, also Herrensache der Neche Weile Kechel. Das ist jetzt Fahrer rausgehen von Golus, von dem letzten Golus. Und Fahrer Makabel sein Terrosse schon Mashiach ist Eichet wird Nisgale, wird aufgetan an Indien, was tut vor, was die ganze Welt, was rührt an, der ganze Minan Ushi, auf anerkennen, als nicht Stocke mit dieser Welt, kedea der ganze Welt soll können schreien, die ganze Welt wird schreien, als da ein Eid Melvadei, und Hoya Hashem le Malach HaKol Reitz, ve'im hu yeh, Hashem echod u'shmei echod, was nicht nur, gefängt Shem Shu Nichtov, Kach und Nikro, nicht nur bei Jiden, nur bei der ganzen Umeseilung, bei der ganzen Welt. So man sehen, bei Ini Bossor, ihr alle verleihen, wo das ist der Achadossor, le Meile mi Stalscheles, wo das ist der Samme letzte Achone zu der Geule, so man sehen, wie des Gallus von Reben, Tekef im Yad Mamesh, ob der Chomele, et peit, kemeit seis Chomeret, mit Zerayim, Aren Niflois, et sein in dem Chag Pesach, et sein Niflois, a viel Legabe Niflois, wie es gewinnt bei Zies in Zerayim, wie es redt sich so man sehen das Lematem, Asorat Fochim, und sehen die Galle von Reben, bei ihm und hier, Havai Echad, Shmei Echad, die ganze Welt hat schreien, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Alekein, Hashem Echad, wie rasch Zeit stopp, ach schon, wie sie nur der Eibischt, Hashem Alekeinu, los ich glaube, sein Hashem Echad, die ganze Welt hat anerkennen, wie Hashem Echad, L'chaim, 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 L'chag HaPesach Kosher B'Sameach, und man soll sehen, die Galles von Reben, Hein bei Nacht, gleich.
We have this very special privilege to hear now from one who has inspired and teaches in many ways, both in written as well as his famous shiurim the world over, the Rebbe Shliach in Wimbledon, England, Harav Nissan David Dubov.
L'chaim, everybody. B'yom haboy razeh Yud Alef Nissan. I'd like to start off by quoting a beautiful Rishima from the Frierdiker Rebbe in Sefer Ma'amorim Kuntreisen Chelik Beis, Amud Tov Hei. The Frierdiker Rebbe writes, Es is gewiss, Omar Hoid Kvei Kedushas Amura Rava Kodesh. He's quoting from his father, the Rebbe Rashab. In the Yemei HaHilula, zenen de Rabbeim Ma'oire Rachmim Oif Alach Sidim. In the days of the yahrzeits of the Rabbeim arouse Rachamim, mercy, on all Chassidim, their Weiber und Kinder, their wives and children. Aber dors is nor a heserus Rachmim klolis. But that is only a general arousal of mercy. Aber die Chassidim welche zenen kivea b'yom ha'hilula alimud mit achsidische Farbrengen. However, Chassidim who will fix on the day of the Hilula to learn Torah of the Baal HaHilula with achsidische Farbrengen, farzei is gar an andere hisoirus rachmim. For them, it's a completely different arousal of mercy. Weil der Limud und der Farbrengen, because the learning and the Farbrengen, das is der Pidyon Nefesh was Chassidim der Langen der Baal HaHilula. This is the Pidyon Nefesh which the Chassidim give the Baal HaHilula. This was said in reference to a Yom HaHilula, a Yortzeit. However, Al Achas Kama V'Kama, in a Yom Huledes of a Nasi Hador, the Pidyon Nefesh which we can give the Rebbe is to have a Chassidische Farbrengen, which we are doing together, and to learn something. So I'd like to share with you this evening the content of a Michtav Klali, which the Rebbe wrote to Bnei Yisrael B'chol Makom Shehem. And of course, as we know, a Michtav Klali, if it's written to everybody, it has a Heirah to every single individual. And this was written Yud Alef Nissan Tavshin Chavav. In that letter, the Rebbe picks up on the point that the Yom Tov is called Pesach because of the Korban Pesach. And in Korban Pesach, the Torah details an interesting instruction. It says that it should be roast, roshei al korov v'al kirboy, head, feet, and inwards. The Rebbe goes on in the letter to explain that the sheep was in fact the avodah zarah of the Egyptians, and when it says that we need to roast the sheep, its head, its feet, and its inwards, these are three details in the avodah zarah of the Mitzrayim. One avodah zarah is roshoi, is when a person allows their own seichel to limit their avodas Hashem. That is avodah zarah. And when it comes to us as Chassidim, when we allow our seichel to limit or to put a personal perspective on what the Rebbe said, instead of interpreting what the Rebbe said, kipshutai, then that's an Avodah Zarah. Similarly, Kurav. Kurav means the feet. When a person uses their feet to tread on places that they shouldn't be, or on people that they shouldn't tread on, abusing authority, that is also an Avodah Zarah. And kirba, in the inwards, if a person indulges in taivas of achila, etc., that is also an Avodah Zarah. So the Korban Pesach is when we take the entire animal, its head, its feet, its inwards, and we completely roast it. And that is serving Hashem with complete Mesiras Nefesh. And the Mesiras Nefesh takes a person from the highest of their koiches down to the lowest of their koiches, durch and durch. And then at the end of the letter, the Rebbe says that year, Tovshin Chavav, was 100 years since the Histalkus of the Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek. And the Rebbe says that the Tzemach Tzedek was an amazing example of the Mesiras Nefesh fire which permeates a Jew, his head, feet, and inwards, every single day of the year. We have to be, and we see by the Rebbe the Tzemach Tzedek, that he had the capability of serving Hashem in all levels. First of all, the Rebbe says, hat vereinigt in sich die höchste Madreges von Tzadik, Goin, Choyker, Mekubel, Pesach, and Manig Yisrael. The Tzemach Tzedek was a Tzadik, he was a Goin, he was a Mekubel, he pasken Shailas, he was a Manig. And not only that, his Goinas took all levels in Torah, in Pshat, Remez, Drush, and Sod. And there was, in addition to his learning, his Hanhogas HaTzibur. He was a Manig Yisrael. And not just the Tzibur, but also Yechidim. And not just in Ruchnis, but in Gashmis. In other words, he was interested in providing land and agriculture for Yidden, that they should have Parnasa. He was interested in even giving a halvah to a single yachid. And he was interested simultaneously in providing chinuch for all children in Russia, and at the same time, he interested himself in providing a melamed for a single individual. And each one of those efforts he did with a tremendous fire of Mesiras Nefesh, with all his Keiches HaNefesh, and with everything that he had. In other words, he put himself completely both into the klal and to the prat. And then the Rebbe writes a beautiful paragraph, and it's this paragraph which we can Farbrengen and internalize this Yud Alef Nissan. Und Chosh, says the Rebbe, wer kann sich gleichen zu Kvei Kedushes Admur Bala Tzemach Tzedek? Who can compare themselves to the Rebbe the Tzemach Tzedek? Hat aber der Emes Tzadik und Manig Yisrael die Eigenschaft, zu leichten und beleichten und maschpier sein Keuches zu jedem einem, welcher will gehen in seinen Wegen. A true Tzadik and Manig Yisrael has the capability to empower and to give the koiches to every single person who goes in his ways. Wie die riesige Sonne spiegelt sich ab und macht lichtig und leichtend a kleinem Strops Wasser, just like the powerful sun has the capability to illuminate the tiniest drop of water, Oib no der Tropfen Wasser ist rein und klar und gewendet zu der Sonne. As long as the drop of water is clean, clear, and it's positioned opposite the sun. In this paragraph, the Rebbe teaches us an amazing lesson that we, Chassidim are like a small drop of water. And this small drop of water, it cannot compare to the sun. The Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek, was able to be a tzaddik, a goyen, and a mekubal, and to be oisik in Avodas HaKlal and Avodas HaPrat. He had broad shoulders. He was a Rebbe, he was a tzaddik. But what do you want from us? What do you want from me? I'm just a small drop of water. Says the Rebbe, that's true. But nevertheless, the sun can shine and reflect within a small drop of water. That little drop of water can reflect the entire sun on three conditions. It's rain, chlor, and gewend to der Sonne. It's positioned opposite the sun. We today are that small drop of water. Today is a Yom HaBohir, a clear day. It's clear in the sense that today the Neshama, the Yechida, the Nasi Hador, came to this world and is giving us clarity, Klorkeit, Reinkeit. We just have to position ourselves to do two things. Number one, to receive, and number two, to reflect. And that's what the small drop of water is. The small drop of water, the sun can shine within it, can empower it, so that when we are doing, it's not us who are doing, we're small drops of water, but through us, the sun shines. But most importantly, we can reflect the sun on this day. B'yiratzon, says the Rebbe at the end of the letter, Hashem Yisbarach soll helfen, as the Hisoirus von Yemei HaPesach und leut dem Beispiel von Baal Hilula soll bewirken jeden einem und einer in Geist von Yitzias Mitzrayim und Zman Cherusenu, man soll befreit werden von aller Störungen und Beschreckungen, Meitzorim und Gwullen, sei innerlicher und sei von der Äußern, und sein Avdei Hashem dienen dem Ebersten in Emerson Cherus. Says the Rebbe that this teaching and the example of the Tzemach Tzedek, and we know the Frierdiker Rebbe said about the Rebbe, Hod the Tzemach Tzedek's Kop, there are so many comparisons to the Rebbe and the Tzemach Tzedek, that example should allow us to free ourselves from anything which will be disturbing us, both in and out, and to be true Avdei Hashem. Und durch dem euch zu eilen die Gula Mitzvahs v'Hashleim al Yidei Mashiach Tzidkenu und die Erfüllung von der Brakosha v'neuch al Sham min Azvachim und min Apsachim. Chsidim, L'chaim. Roishoi al Krov al Kirboi. Unsere Kopf, unsere Fies, unsere Innerwenig. Let's be kuloi tzli'esh. Let us verbrennen sich mit a Mesiris dicke Nefesh, a Mesiris Nefesh dicke fire, that our minds, our feet, our inwards should be that small drop of water which is rain and chlor, and which is positioned today in the Yom HaBohir opposite the sun. Because the Shimsha L'Kule Alma Naicha, that sun is good for everything. In the moment when we're standing a few days before Pesach, let us remember that Radak at the end of Shmuel Beis, where the Radak says the Magefa came in the times of David HaMelech because they didn't ask for the Beis HaMikdash. Says the Radak, Madoch, they who didn't have a Beis HaMikdash, and it wasn't destroyed in their days. They had the Magefa because they didn't ask for the Beis HaMikdash. We, who had a Beis HaMikdash, and it was destroyed in our days, and if you remember the famous Sikha where the Rebbe says a harte Yid, a steine Yid. Mishalei nivna mikdash b'yamav kilu nechra b'yamav. And the fact is, it's the other way around now. We're literally seconds before the Hisgalos. We just need to position ourselves in order to receive and in order to reflect. And even if we're quarantined, we can use every single capability, facility, technology to us, whether it's a phone, a Zoom, a WhatsApp, family, personal time, to be that little drop of water. But it should be rein und klar und gewöhnt sich zu der Sonne. L'chaim, in the Yom HaBoyer soll man sicher sein zu der Hisgalos von Malkeinu Meshechenu, take from Miyad Mamish.
It is now our greatest privilege and honor to hear and call upon one who has been inspiring literally the world over, with recognizing how the turning of events throughout the world, local and global, are all pointing in the direction of the Geula and inspiring communities throughout the world, with infusing them emunah and bitachon in the imminence of the Geula Amitis Vashlema. Without further ado, Harav Ruvain Wolf, the mother, the Asra of Kehilas Mayone Yisrael in California.
L'chaim l'bracha, baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol nived varei. L'chaim l'bracha, everyone. A good Yom Tov, a good Yom Tov, a good Yom Tov. In the midst of this chaos will come out the biggest Yom Tov. There's no shadow in my mind, a shadow of a doubt that that's what's going to happen. The dust will settle, and those who are sick will have a refuah shalema, complete recovery. Those have Rahman al-Islam departed will come back very quickly. For sure, we're already long overdue. If things would have gone through the regular pattern of time, then we could have had what it says Tchias HaMesim 40 years later. But now everything has to be chick-chack. The Rebbe wird sie alle zurückbringen, mamish, take from Miyad mamish. And wir dürfen sich greiten, and we have to prepare ourselves for the biggest Yom Tov ever. We really need to realize that we are going to dance, and we're going to sing, and we're going to have such a rapture of joy and happiness that we can't even dream of. It's Yud Alef Nissan Tov Shin Pei. Pei is the number of 8. 8 b'shleimus, the shleimus of number 8. All the nevuas pertaining to the Geula are all, so many of them start with the word pertaining to the number 8, Oz. We actually, when we went out of Mitzrayim, we sang as a people. So the first word, it's not what we actually said, but the first word in the Torah describing Shiras Hayam, Yidden singing. When do we sing? Singing is our reaction to the Geula. So the opening word of that is Oz. Oz. Oz is number 8. As it says, Alef, Roichev al Zayin, the number 1 that's riding on the 7. It's actually in today's Chumash. Today's Chumash of Yud Alef Nisan was Vehi Bayoim Hashmini, the ultimate day, the day that the Shekhinah comes down to rest amongst the Jewish people. So the Kli Yakar brings, and the Rebbe brings it in the Sichos, that the Torah is waiting. The pasuk was the Eibishter was waiting, and the pasuk is saying it couldn't have happened any other time. It had to be on the day, which is the window where the miraculous enters the normal, where Teva and L'maylam and Ateva meet, and that's what Uz is. Not only that you have an 8th dimension, we go beyond nature, but that we're mechaber, we attach the beyond nature into nature, and that's the meaning of Uz. Alef Roichev al Zayin, that the number 1 permeates the 7. That's thinking of Dira B'Tachtoinim, the time and space. So the physical world gets permeated with Yechidish Alolam, the Aleph of Geula that we have to put into Goyla, and then we transform Goyla into Geula. That's the Rebbe's Mashiach. Meaning that's the Rebbe's Geula. That's the way the Rebbe taught us. That's how Chassidus teaches us, but the Iker the Rebbe, because that's the whole inyan of the Rebbe. Lechaber al Yoinim and Tachtoinim, and unifying it all in an incredible unity. So we find that all the Nevuos, Let's begin. Oz tisaneg al Hashem. Tainug. When did the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya that nowadays the avodah is not an avodah of Tainug. It's not ava betanugim. Our avodah today is an avodah of toil and effort. The avodah of Tanugim, that's avodas matana etenis kunaschem. There are some few tzaddikim who olam chatiri b'chayecha. They see already the future world already during their lifetime. They had ava betanugim, but for regular people, there's no tainig in elokus. Oz tisanig, then you will be misanig. Then you'll find tainig in elokus. Oz yibaka kashachar nohoirech. Then will blast. The darkness will be blasted open with a burst of morning light. Oz, then, again, Alef. Oz yiranenu atzei ayor. Then the forests of the trees of the forest will sing. The world will burst out with spontaneous song. Oz, when is that going to happen? Oz, related to the number 8. Oz yoimru bagoyim. Starting before that, Oz yemole schoik pinu. Oh, are we going to laugh? The world is going to be filled with laughter. When? Oz yoimru bagoyim higdil Hashem lasas amela. All the nations in the world are going to point. Look what the Eibishter has done. Oz yidaleg kayol piseach. I think the words of the pasuk is that then a person who's lame, a person that's limping, a person who can't walk normally will be able to leap. And then finally, Oz ahapich ela'amim safa bruda. Then the Eibishter says, I will convert the nations. And we're seeing already the conversion of the nations is happening already. Just a few months ago, we had leaders from the entire world, presidents, prime ministers, even kings, converged on Eretz Yisrael the first time in history. Something like that should happen. And they spoke about the greatness of the Jewish people. They spoke about they praised the Yidden. They said, you came out of the ashes, a nation out of the ashes. Look what you were able to rebuild. Mamish, and they even spoke, Prince Charles from England and others, and the Vice President from here, Pence, all spoke in Lashon HaKodesh. Mamish, the fulfillment of Nevuos, it's happening already. And if you dig a little deeper, the conversion of the nations that have been going on, the entire world was flipped over in the last couple of years as we were creeping up, as we were in the 8s. Because once we reached the year 770, we entered into the 8th decade of the 8th millennium, of the 8th century within the 6th millennium. The 6th, that's Alef Hashishi, that's when Mashiach is supposed to come. But we were from when the Farbrengen Rebbe came to America in Tov Shin, that's 5,700. Mamish, and the Rebbe speaks about that's kibush tachten shein tachtel matem and ascholas hagiyula. That's when the Farbrengen Rebbe came out, the alta l'tshuva, the alta l'giyula. So when was that? That was the beginning of the 8th decade in Alef Hashishi. We reached 5700. We went in 5701 when the Rebbe comes to America. It's the first time in the 8th, in the power of 8. And now in 5770 we reached the 8th decade. And now we peaked. This is the last year. This is already 57.8. We were holding at the peak of the peak. It doesn't get higher than this. It doesn't get deeper than this. In this transcendental energy, in this power to unify. L'mayla maderach hateva, nisim geluyim, the conversion, which is all coming through the gili of Atzmos. So what happened? The whole world went tipsy-turvy. The whole world's chibigekert. In the United States of America, we had a whole flip of the government. L'mayla maderach hateva, legamri. Who'd have ever thought L'toivas Eretz Yisrael, L'toivas Yidden, and it all came about in in a way that was like, wow, no one could ever believe something like this. And then we had the announcement B'negei Yerushalayim, and then we had the Rubashkin was freed, and then we had the Golan was announced, and then we said that this year, just a few months ago, we're forgetting, we never are so hit with this situation that has happened that we sometimes forget. We had just on Chav Cheshvan, on the Rebbe Shabbos, Yom HaLedes, was the day they announced that it's not illegal, the Jewish settlements. So these are unbelievable things, and it's not just America. Take a look what happened in England. England, there was a government, it looked like Chas v'Shalom, he was going to win. The other guy over there, I forgot that. Boris Johnson won. What's the difference? The name of the anti-Semite, Corbyn. And this guy seemed to be, they were becoming very popular, mamish anti-Semites, with a horrible agenda. Who knows what could have happened to Eretz Yisrael. would have strengthened that entire klipa of Europe, and the whole thing disintegrated. There was an incredible nitzachon, also on the Rebbe's day, the day of the Rebbe's anniversary, Yud Dalet Kislev, was an incredible nitzachon. They were destroyed with they had an embarrassing defeat. And Tzadak Kedusha, those that are going to stand up, friends of Eretz Yisrael, won. That's a haficha, that's a change. And you see the entire European Union that needed England, and England mad Brexit, it's crumbling, it's coming together. I mean, why is Chassidim, are we talking about this? The Rebbe told us, Mach auf die Augen, look what it says in the Gazette, and look what it says in the newspapers. The world is turning over. And take a look what happened in all the Arab countries. They're all making alliances with Eretz Yisrael. They're all becoming friends. About the things, but they're warming up. Things are cozying up to Eretz Yisrael. Never saw something like this. We're talking about nations that stood for since way back, and all they wanted was lahashmid laharig la'abedis kol Yehudim, to drive every Jew into the sea. Now Saudi Arabia and Bahrain and the United Emirates, and there's another few of them, all the Gulf states, and the other ones are laying shambles. Iran suddenly, with all of its might and all of its power, look where it's standing today. It's been choked financially. The coronavirus hit it in a way that the mamish into the government that's making them tzaris sururis. They're at the verge of collapse. Syria is completely finished. All these countries, whatever was standing, Iraq, I mean, everything that stood as a threat to Eretz Yisrael, everything is null and void. There's mamish nothing there anymore. Mamish az conversion of all the nations. And who's behind it all? Who was doing all of this? I'd like to share with you, there was a reshima that I saw just about a month ago in Sefer Toras Menachem Miluyim. It's a Miluyim for 60 volumes of Toras Menachem that did not make it into the main Sfarim, so they gave out. So you look in the first page, mamish the first page. There's a reshima there, the Rebbe's handwriting. Someone asked the Rebbe, how was Rabbi Akiva be able to say on Bar Kochva that he's Mashiach? We know that Eliyahu Hanavi is supposed to come. Since Eliyahu Hanavi didn't come, how can you say that he's Mashiach? So the Rebbe answers. The Rebbe says, from all the sources, it's not clear when Eliyahu Hanavi will come. Im lifnei gilui harishain, if it's before the first gilui of Melech HaMashiach, oy lifnei sheyenatzeach, I don't know exactly the words, I'm not quoting it exactly, but it's something like this. Or at the time when he is going to be menatzeach kol milchamois of all of his wars. Or finally, the last, or koidem sheyodu by hakoil. Or before, or at the time when everybody will agree that he is Mashiach. Fascinating reshima, where the Rebbe clearly says that there is like 3 shlavim b'biyas HaMashiach. First is Gilui Rishain. Then there's a period of time when he's menatzeach b'milchal moisav, when he's victorious, he's fighting wars and he's winning. And then the third time is when yoidu by hakoil. So, Lafi Aniyah's Daiti Haklusha, my own thing, I think it's obvious. In Tafshin Nun Alef and Nun Beis was the time when the Rebbe kept on bringing us the Yalkut Shemoini over and over and over again the whole year, that's the time, both Shana Shamelech HaMashiach Nigla Boy and B'Shah Shamelech HaMashiach Bo. And the Rebbe, it's not like the Rebbe okay, there was something happening in the Persian Gulf, and the Rebbe was saying, the Rebbe was hoping and wishing and davening that this should happen. That's not what was going on. The Rebbe was stating unequivocally, and that this happened already. Actually, in the end of the year, in the beginning, the Rebbe was giving brachas. It should be mekuyim. But if you look in Parshas Nasa and in Parshas Balak, and those are 2 of them, I think there's others, where the Rebbe says, Kvar, it happened already. In other words, this that it says, the Melech HaMashiach Nigla, and Takim Parshas Mishpatim, Nun Alef, Parshas Mishpatim. You can look open, there's a Mugadig Sikha, the last line, the last keta there. The Rebbe says the minoy of David Malka Mashiach was already. And the only thing that's necessary is now the chibur of the Am, the Kabbalah Samalchus, the connection of the people to the Melech. That means that Bias HaMashiach, in terms of the first Giloi, that happened. Then, Parshas Mishpatim, Nun Beis, the Rebbe says that now there is a certain tikkun olam that needs to happen. The world needs to be corrected, the world needs to be fixed, and fixing the Umaysa olam, the Rebbe says, that's the job of Melech HaMashiach Ba'atzmoi. Meaning, that's not our work. That's not Chassid. Unser Arbeit, the Rebbe gave us in Parshas Chayei Sarah. He said our avodah is to go out to the entire world and to educate the world in Inyan Gula Mashiach, so that people should be ready to be able to be Makabel P'nei Mashiach, to make a big Kabbalas upon him party for Melech HaMashiach, which means they should learn Inyan Gula Mashiach, so they'll know what Mashiach is all about. Then they'll be able to identify Mashiach. It's a no-brainer if you start learning. If you learn with people the Rambam and you learn what Mashiach needs to do, and to summarize it, really, I'll tell you an interesting story. In my shul, I have over here a yid, a beautiful yid, but Baruch Hashem, the guy helps out a lot. He's a Mal Yachelis, he's able to help and financially, and he's a great guy. But he couldn't stand, it bothered him. Now, I'm not too vocal. I'm not, even though I'm vocal on YouTube, but at my shul, I'm not a big Yechi screamer and so on and so forth. It's very Mesudadig here. Most of my crowd is not even a Lubavitcher crowd, so I'm very contained. But he knows what my opinions are, what I hold, and I do say, and it comes out in all my talks and Kadeshim and stuff like that. I'm saying it in a very powerful and nice way, but yet I'm not controlling myself. So he can't stand, and he was always telling me like why do you say so? And I have Lubavitcher friends who tell me not so, and this and that. Anyways, so 2 weeks ago, it's the first week of quarantine. When it was strict, when we canceled shul, Shabbos morning, I was craving a mikveh. So I went to his house. He has a pool. And I knew, B'chlal, this guy, he can't stand this isolation. So he was so happy that I came to visit him. And I used this pool. And we sat together for 2 hours. With Shabbos Mavorchim, I needed to say Tillim and Daven, but still I sat with him with Farbrengen for 2 hours. And he told me on his own, I feel Mashiach is coming now. With this whole corona, Mashiach is coming mamish now. So then obviously the conversation was, so tell me, we got into the question regarding the Rebbe. So I told him, I said, David, listen to me. I said, in the Rambam, it says something very, very simple. The Rambam gives a very short description of what Mashiach is all about. The Rambam says, and I told him what Mashiach says, but the Kitzur, I said, before I even started saying the details, the Rambam says Mashiach is the person who's here in the Golos, and he prepares the world for Bias HaMashiach. He does he's not going to show up like when the moment the Geula comes, Mashiach is coming, riding into town on a pony. That's not what happens. Mashiach is betoich ami ani anochi yesheves. I'm sitting amongst my people and I'm preparing them. That's what Mashiach is doing. He's preparing the people. That's what the Rambam says. Yamid Melech and he's Yaakov Kol Yisrael and he's Oisik the Yilchum Chamas, doing things in the Golos. So so he turns to me and he says, then of course, he says, of course it's the Rebbe. He says, there's no one else. Who else did the work to prepare the Jewish people? Who else set up a network, a global network, which is still operating today and still conquering the whole world? It doesn't exist. No one did it. And he goes running up to his wife, and he tells his wife, says, Chani, you have no idea. I think Wolf is up to something. He explained it to me. And then this Friday, I spoke to him again on the phone. He says, by the way, you make so much sense what you told me just 2 weeks ago. And all I said was one line. The Nekuda is, you need a person who's oisik in the world to prepare the world for Bias HaMashiach. So, going back, so the Rebbe then said, so Parshas Mishpatim, the Rebbe says, our job is to prepare everybody for what's Mashiach's job? Mashiach's Inyan is l'sakin olam, to prepare the world. The Rebbe then said that since there was a Psak Din that came out on Becheskas Mashiach, the Rebbe didn't say clearly those words, but the Rebbe says a Psak Din, B'negei, the Rabbanim gave a Psak Din, B'negei Mashiach, I think Becheskas Mashiach and all the way up to Mashiach Vadai. So that's already poil in the world, that Mashiach is having already an effect on the nations. This that they made this nuclear disarmament agreement, this is related, and this is the work of Melech HaMashiach. Fine. And what happened since then? Then we had all the Chalamas Vehestadim, but it's not Chas v'Sholom that our Rebbe disappeared. All these inyanim that were going on, that happened, the whole world changed in the last 26 years. This is all the Yenatseach. The Rebbe said then he's beginning to be Menatseach. The completion of the Nitzachon of Melech HaMashiach in the world is going on in front of our eyes in the last 25 years. If we're just a little sensitive, we're willing to and the Eibishter wants to show it to us in a manner that we can see it tangibly. Arenu neflois, like the Rebbe says, that Eibishter himself is going to show that these neflois, not that we're going to need to see them and later need explanations, but we're going to see it. One of the things I think it's so clear who's behind all these inyanim is that all these special things happened on Lubavitcher dates, on dates connected to the Rebbe. Start with the day that Trump won passageway to the White House. That happened on Yutes Kislev, the day that the official they call it Electoral College voted him in. You can check it out. And then a year later, on Yutes Kislev is when he announced regarding Yerushalayim. And then on Zois Chanukah, which also number 8, Chanukah is Bechlala Yom Tov 8, Zois Chanukah, and it's the day the Rebbe made his Suda Saidah for the Rebbe coming back after the Rebbe's heart attack in Tavshin Lamed. So in Tavshin Lamed Ches. So then the Rebbe made the Suda Saidah on Zois Chanukah. So on Zois Chanukah is the day that we felt Mashiach in our bones, a bursting joy and laughter and happiness when Rubashkin came out. And by the way, let's not forget what happened that night. All of the world, Lakewood and Muncie and everybody was filmed, right? Everybody was watching 770 live. It was unbelievable. Everybody will tell you that if there ever was a Mashiach moment in the last 20 years, it was when Rubashkin was freed. And where was everybody focused? Dafkan Beis Rabbeinu Shebabovel. But again, Zois Chanukah. And then the Golan Heights was announced, the president tweeted it, on Purim in the morning. And the day that he mentioned earlier that they announced that it's not illegal, the settlements, when did that happen? On Chav Cheshvan, the Rebbe Rashab we know fought, and he was the one who opened the yeshiva in Hebron, and the Rebbe Rashab writes so much about the importance of Hebron regarding, but this is on his day. And then Hey Tevis this year, Didon Notzachu. So we saw that that without Eretz Yisrael having to do a thing, the greatest threat, Soleimani, who was responsible for so much bloodshed and was planning horrific things, and everybody said, this guy's untouchable. You heard him, who knows what's going to happen? He was finished. It was they took him out, and nothing happened. And when was it? Hey Tevis. And last year, Yud Aleph Nisan, the church in Paris, that Notre Dame, that stood for the symbol of the victory of Christianity over Judaism. And if you read about it, you'll see that that's what it stood for. That was also burnt down. As the Rebbe says in the Sichos, Beis Yaakov Eish, Beis Yaakov, the Rebbe says, is the Alter Rebbe. Ubeis Yosef, in the house of Yosef. Yosef is the Friedige Rebbe. Ubeis Yosef, Beis is the Rebbe. Lahava takes the Pnimius, takes the truth, the teachings of the Alter Rebbe of Chassidus, which is really the Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, which is Mashiach. Echad, Achdus Havaya, the unity of the Eibishter, that was revealed through the Baal Shem Tov, and the Alter Rebbe systemized it, brought it into Seichel, and the Rebbe went and revealed it and burst it out in the entire world. That's the fire that burns the Golos. And that's what destroyed Tzarfas. The Rebbe says Befedish in the Sichos. The Rebbe is talking about France, and the Rebbe is talking about V'hoya Beis Yaakov Eish, Ves Yosef Lahava. And when does it happen? On the day of our Rebbe of Yud Aleph Nisan. The Kohen Avakeda, an impeachment, it started Chav Dalet in the Senate. The first day of actual arguments was Chav Dalet Tevis, and the last day was Yud Shvat. I mean, it's crazy. Every single thing is following the exact dates of our Rebbe, just showing us. Geb Chapsich, see what's happening over here. Who is someone who's being loichem Mulchames Hashem v'Yenotzeach. And now, the Rebbe had still gemacht the ganze Welt. The whole world became silenced. Mamish, the entire world stopped. Of course, we shrei ad the Mosai, and the pain is horrible of why it hit our community, and why our dear Chassidim and Yidden are sick and are dying. And we halten das nicht aus. Aber tzad a Yid can't ignore that there is a sudden Inyan that silenced the entire world, and it's called Corona, and Corona means coronation. So the Klor, a little bit deeper than just shallow existence, you understand that the Pnimius over here is the coronation of the Melech, and for the coronation of the Melech, everything is silent, especially since it happened Tavshin Pei, and it happened on Nissan. Nissan is the Zman of the Geula. So without a shadow of a doubt that we're now mamish living the last moments and the first moments of the Geula, and we need to connect the two, and how is it going to happen? If we have the schus If we have the schus, the Eibusher should give us all the schus to be a little bit of a participant. Kemeton, the let's avoid that we can do the last thing that we were asked to do. The Rebbe told us that what? That we have to be makabel pnei Mashiach. The Rebbe said the bikshu es alekayim bes David Malcolm. And if you look in the sources where the Rebbe brings that in Parshas Noach, he started talking about Kiddush Levana, bikshu es alekayim bes David Malcolm, and it means that the Yidden are going to turn to Melech to the Eibusher, and they're going to request the Geula, they're going to beg for Malchus Beis David. And they're also going to ask it from Melech HaMashiach himself. Umimenu, it says they're going to come to the Melech Mi Beis David, and Umimenu Yivakshu. From him they're going to ask. So what is required, I believe, right now for all of us, we're no more in public. Everybody's private in their own home. It has nothing to do anymore with politics. You belong in this camp or you belong in that camp. It's all narishkeit. We have to sober up and we have to get out of the chitzonius and get deep inside our neshamas. Where the Rebbe explained to us in Beis Nissan that there is a relationship of the heart and organs, and the organs have to be machaya the heart in order for the melech, who is the heart, to be able to enliven the body and to pump energy and life. He needs the heart, the organs to give back the blood to the heart, that the heart can be alive, and that comes through the organs submitting themselves to the heart. And in the relationship of a king and the subject, the Rebbe says it's related to the people declaring the Melech HaMelech by saying, "Long live the king." So in a very deep place, if you can gather your families, if you didn't do it today, do it tomorrow. It's not, again, we're not talking about an outside thing. If we're uncomfortable doing that, to go out into the entire world, I think time has come, and I think the world is ready to hear the emes as well. But even if you're not comfortable in doing that, but you're in your pnimius, in your heart, and together with your families, be joyfully, with all your heart and all your soul, be makabel upon yourself that you're going to be a chassid, but you're not just relating to the Rebbe as a Rebbe, which that's everything, but even beyond that as a melech. And a melech means the Hiros of the Rebbe, I have to listen. There's no two ways about it. It's an inyan of melech. To me, things changed. When I used to think Rebbe, not always was I so. Now in Melech, it's. Let me put it this way: it's very hard for me not to finish the 3 prakim Rambam a day, because I know that not doing it is an inyan of Meridim and Malchus. So that's what we have to take. If we can't, obviously, not everybody's going to change everything all in 1 second, but take at least one inyan in your life. Say, this is Malchus, and the Rebbe is my king, and I'm going to listen to him no matter what. I'm going to see it through. And that's how you mean it be'emes. Say it, sing it, dance it. Share it with others. Let people know what you believe, and together, ba'achdus. Now is the time. There's no katzait. There's nothing anymore. There's not everything. And the Rebbe, basically for shluchim and for the Rebbe canceled everything. You can't put on film with people. We can't do anything. The only thing we can do is do b'sudas hagiyula. That's what it is. Let's avoid. That's all we have to do. So I'm calling another shluchim and other people. Let's not be embarrassed. Let's. First of all, you can't. It's very hard to share things if you're not familiar yourself with the inyanim. So let's come to the Yom Tov of Pesach, and most people are now being again sequestered at home, so you don't have so much work in terms of your communities. So if you can learn for yourselves, learn the sichos of Nun Aleph and Nun Beis. Go back to those sichos. Learn them well. Let them go into your bones. And I still am saying again and again, learn the Sefer in Yanoi Shel Mashiach from Better Levov, an unbelievable revolutionary Sefer that gives such clarity, takes all the sichos and puts it all in such a formulated fashion that you can learn it and teach it and get excited about it. And let's do it. And hopefully we don't have to wait to learning and doing anything. That Haint already, Yud Alef Nissan, as we're Farbrengen, on this 770 Farbrengen, we will get a suddenly alert. The Rebbe is in 770, and the Beis HaMikdash Hashlishi is coming down, and we're all flying together to Yerushalayim with everybody, and all Cholim HaGezunt, and all this can happen, it should happen, and it will happen, and let it happen right now. L'chaim, l'chaim, l'bracha.
We now have the great privilege to introduce the Rebbe Shliach in Atlanta, Georgia, Harav Yossi Elu, who will address this Farbrengen.
Shalom Aleichem, everyone. L'chaim Chassidim. I apologize, I don't have any mashka with me, as I am going between places to places of delivering the mifzoim of this day, the matzah, v'chulu. So I don't have any l'chaim with me, and but I'm thinking about it. B'makim shemachshavta shel adam, and l'chaim for Meya v'chai shonim of unser Rebbe, Gedyantiv Chassidim, Gedyantiv brothers, Gedyantiv families, It's a beautiful day, a very special day, a personal day of the Rebbe. And the Rebbe in Tavshin Mem Beis, while asking Hasidim not to come for Shnas HaShmeinim, expressed that this day is a personal day and that he needs time, that the Rebbe needs time to take care of the personal inyanim, as it says in Hayom Yom, as Beididus of today. And he might not have time to greet all the Hasidim, all the guests that want to come. It's a personal day. It's a day of reflection. And because it's a personal day for the Rebbe, it's a personal day for Hasidim to reflect. And so, despite the fact that this day is not, this time of the year, this year is a completely confusing time, nevertheless, Yud Alef Nissan gives us an opportunity and a moment to reflect, of course, to reflect on the Rebbe. And so I would humbly suggest that there may be 3 areas which this time of the year, put together with this confusion that's happening around the world, can perhaps lead us to something beautiful. The first thing is that on Purim, we started wearing masks, and since Purim, we're still wearing the masks. And the inyan of a mask, or to be dressed up, or wearing costumes, v'chulu, on Purim, has to do with bringing out that which is real. The Adla Yoda, as it's explained in Chassidus, Adla Yoda means to get to a place where you don't know, where it's higher than this world. It's deeper. It's our connection even in a time where it's not so straight. Lo yada, we don't know. But that's where we need to go. We need to realize that as much as we know, we don't know. So staying behind the mask leads us to a certain element of emes. And there is no better example of emes than with the Rebbe. And I'll share a story which I heard from the Baal HaMaisa, who is a chassid by the name of Reb Moshe Katzenellenbergen Olav Shalom, who came from Russia in Tavshin Lamed Alef in 1971, and he passed away several years ago. And he immediately came to the Rebbe, and he was by the Rebbe for Tishrei Tavshin Lamed Beis, a few months after he came back from. He came out of Russia, he went straight to the Rebbe, but later he went again for Tishrei, and the Rebbe covered all the expenses of the Russian immigrants. And he went into Yechidus, and the Rebbe found it very necessary for these chevra that came out of Russia to meet with Rabbanim and Gedolei Yisrael in the New York area and in Canada, Montreal, if I'm not mistaken, that they should see that despite the difficulties and the persecution and the challenges for Chulu, there came out Rabbanim, Chassidim, Mikusharim, and Yodei Sefer. And so the Rebbe asked Reb Moshe Katzenellenbergen if he would go around, because he says, the Rebbe said to Reb Moshe, Mezokt auf dir, as du bist baki in Dalet Chalkei Shulchan Aruch, that about you it has been said that you are clear in all 4 sections of the Shulchan Aruch. That's a big, tall task. And the Rebbe said it to Reb Moshe Katzenellenbergen. So Reb Moshe was quite embarrassed and taken aback by these praises, and he said to the Rebbe, it's nicht emes. It's not quite true. And the Rebbe said to him, and again I heard this from him himself, from Reb Moshe himself, the Rebbe said to him, Mot das gesagt da. Now, I don't recall if the Rebbe said that it was said at gesagt da by dem Tish, that was said by this table, or if the Rebbe said in these Daled Amos, it was said in this room. I don't recall that detail, but the story is that the Rebbe said to him that it was said here. It was said in front of me, basically, and then the Rebbe added these words: Und alles, was me sagt da, is emes. And everything said here is emes. That is unbelievable. Everything said in the Rebbe's room to the Rebbe is emes. That is the emes. And we know that the Rebbe didn't like to delay around. It was very important that the shluchim have that papers that are legal in each country according to their country. The Rebbe it was important to the Rebbe about currency, about money, to be straight. There was no possibility of Heipach HaEmes, Rachmana litzlan. One of the points of the trial of this forum was how a Rebbe is completely emes, and it's not possible that there could have been a misleading word. And everybody knows the story when the Rebbe was in France and that he wanted to make sure that Orthodox means Orthodox Judaism. V'chulu v'chulu. Everybody knows this. And it's important that we realize that this time we are being asked to be true to ourselves. Behind that mask, what's going on inside? What's going on within us? And are we Amesdika people? And do we need to work on that element to be like the Rebbe? Yud Alef Nissan in this crazy time is a good reminder of finding within ourselves the emes and real emes. That means to be true to ourselves and to bring out the truth within ourselves. The second thing is obviously bitachon. And bitachon is something that is very difficult these days, but that's the time when bitachon is most important. It's easy to have bitachon kvayochel when things are going fine. Yeah, bitachon, yeah, trust. But when things are going not as fine as possible and there's so much uncertainty, that's when bitachon really kicks in. There's a famous Ksav Yad Kodesh that the Rebbe writes in English, more bitachon, more parnasa. The word bitachon and parnasa are in Hebrew. The more you have a trust in the Eibishter, the more parnasa you're going to have. The Rebbe wrote these words to my grandfather in Tavshin Chof Daled in 1964. Those are extremely powerful words. I recall, I think it was 15 years ago, and Erev Pesach was on Shabbos, like it's going to be next year. Be'ez Hashem, but Nechosh Dom in Azvochem in Apsachim in Eretz Yisrael, in Yerushalayim. But it was Erev Pesach Shcholius b'Shabbos, and when Erev Pesach is on Shabbos, you have to obviously finish everything and all your preparations before Shabbos comes, and then you have a 24-hour Shabbos. And so we decided to make a meal at the main central Chabad house in the shul. And it was a great time. Everybody was able to sit down and eat something after a whole week. And then we walked home. We lingered around because it was good to talk to people, and we left quite late. And about halfway home, the heavens opened up. It was not just raining; it was hail. It was pashut borod ad kedei kach, so much so that my little daughter turned and she said, "What have we done wrong?" She learned in the kindergarten that the borod was a makkah, that hail was a punishment to the Mitzrayim, and she was wondering, in all sincerity, that's how bad it was. And one of the people who was at this meal, who was not Shemesh Shabbos at that time, and one of the women who saw what was going on, and she got into her car, and she was driving along the streets to see where the people are, and she bumped into us. She lowered her window and she was crying. That's how bad it was out there. She said, "It's terrible. Come inside the car. I'm driving, so you don't have to worry about it." So I walked over to the car and I said, "Listen, good Shabbos. And it's Shabbos today. It's Shabbos tonight. We don't drive. We don't get into the car." She says, "Okay, then at least a kid. It's impossible to mobble here." So I said to her these words. I said, when it's nice outside and we walk, that's not necessarily such a big deal because everybody is walking. It's nice. It's when it's like this and it's still like walking for Shabbos when no one else is on the street. That's commitment. That shows that it's not because it's nice outside, it's because it's Shabbos today. So I said to her, I said, we're soaking wet. It's going to take 2 or 3 days just for the clothing that we're wearing now just to become dry. It was totally soaked. I said, but that doesn't matter because the Eibishter wants us to walk in when it's difficult. That's the point. When it's not comfortable. Rabbi Say, it is very difficult. Bitachon these days are problematic because of Rahman al-Islan. There's a lot of suffering. Yet, this is the time where there needs to be bitachon. This is the time where we need to say, listen, Baruch HaGeber Asher Yiftach B'Hashem, that brings the brachos. That brings the panosa. That brings the chasdei Hashem when he sees that despite the difficulty, we somehow overcome that challenge. And the Rebbe pushed this so much over and over again. Eli Wiesel came to visit Atlanta, Oliver Shalom came to visit Atlanta about 10 years ago, and I went to see him just to see him, and he told me several stories with him and the Rebbe, and the Rebbe reached out to him, and he came to Yechidus, if I'm not mistaken. It was either in Yechidus or at a Farbrengen, and he told the Rebbe that until a certain age I was a chassid, a vision's a chassid, and now I can't believe in the Eibishter. I saw the Malach HaMavos, I saw the Satan, I saw the bad side, I can't. And the Rebbe told him, so who do you believe in then? Who do you have faith in? Mankind. If you believe in mankind, this is what they did. If you believe in the Eibishter, it's good that you can be angry at the Eibishter, you can tine it to the Eibishter, you can have complaints, and you can talk, but you must have the faith in the Eibishter to know that whatever is doing is good. That's emunah. Bitachon is even deeper. Bitachon means that you're trusting the Eibishter, that not just it's going to be good, but whatever is happening is part of the good. Even although Rahman al-Islan, it's not necessarily, hasn't been necessarily the down to earth betayva nidav and nigla. And so we dive into the Eibishter that it should be that way, and we have bitachon that everything is happening for the good, and it will increase the brachos, this very bitachon. And the third thing is in the house. The house, it seems like the Eibishter might be happy with what we're doing in our shuls, and he wants us to turn our homes into our shuls as well. So we daven there, but it's not just davening. There's also an element of shalom bias. And there's a story from the Rebbe, it's probably well known, that one summer day, the Rebbe came home. The Rebbe would inform, before he came home, there would be a phone call. And the Rebbetzin would be ready for the Rebbe and sitting in the place when the Rebbe came home after mincha time, in the afternoon, late afternoon. And that's when they had the half hour or so cup of tea together. And the Rebbe called ahead, and the Rebbetzin was nowhere to be found. And he asked whoever it was in the house, where is the Rebbetzin? And the Rebbetzin is outside on the porch. So the Rebbe came out to the porch. The Rebbetzin was pushing a lot to see if you can find the time for the Rebbe to take off a little bit, just take off a week. All the Rabbeim did it, or most of the Rabbeim went out on dacha. And the Rebbe didn't do it. So the Rebbetzin went and bought 2 deck chairs and put them on the porch. And the Rebbetzin was sitting on one of those deck chairs, and there was another deck chair right next to the Rebbetzin, obviously there for the Rebbe. So the Rebbe smiled, and the Rebbe said, dacha. The Rabbeim haben sich gekocht in dacha. That's the story that I heard. I wasn't there, of course. And the Rebbe sat down onto the deck chair. And after a few seconds, 10 seconds or 15 seconds, the Rebbe said, we were now Yaitze. We have now fulfilled the obligation of dacha for this year. Let's go inside. That's a cute story, but really it is a major, powerful story. Think about the Rebbe's schedule, the Rebbe's time, and how hard the Rebbe worked. And he informed the home, he did say that he's coming. And the first thing he did when he saw this, he smiled. Dacha. The Rebbe found a way to turn this into something pleasant. And the Rebbe did not say, let's go inside. The Rebbe sat down first, recognition, and he gave that and respect first, and then a few seconds later, let's go inside. So the Rebbe didn't waste any time. The Rebbe solidified his relationship with the Rebbetzin. And it's a trying time now. But the Rebbe, we all know how important the Rebbetzin was to the Rebbe. And when Chavei Shvat happened, the Rebbe's entire Hanhogas HaKodesh, the way the Rebbe was a Rebbe after that, was different than the way the Rebbe was before. It's to show the extreme importance of the Rebbetzin. And the Rebbe continued to work on that. They both did. It was an amazing example of focus, of spending time together, and of maintaining ways to keep the relationship strong. We have no choice. This is the time now to do it. We can't waste. We can't get away from it. Yud Alef Nissan, we learn from the Rebbe about Shalom Bayis. We learn from the Rebbe about Bitachon, and we learn from the Rebbe about Emes. Those three elements all really encompass the Rebbe and the Rebbe's life as the Rebbe. And there's one more thing. The Bitachon is really connected to the time that the Rebbe wants, that the Higia Zman Geulaschem. So modern way, I saw a word from the Chidushei Harim. The Chidushei Harim says that if a person reads the Megillah for the first time, he wonders what is going on here with all these descriptions of a party in Shushan, and the king and the queen and another queen and the Shisha Chadoshim B'Shem and Amoed. The details over there don't seem to be appropriate. You don't find this kind of description anywhere in the entire Tanakh. Only when you come to the end, you suddenly realize, oh, every detail over here is talking part of a story that ends up in one of the greatest Geulas and Nahapechu and the ganze Chodesh Vashenepach Lahem. It's a whole month. Then the Chidushei Harim finishes and says that before Mashiach will come, there'll be the same kind of issues. There'll be things that you Pashut cannot understand, or what is going on, and why this would be part of the plan. And then at the end of everything, all of a sudden, the whole thing will become clear. It's not an easy thing. It can't be a nechama. But one thing, there is something to look forward to, and that is that there is no question that an upheaval like this in the world must lead to Tov Hanira V'Nigla. So there should be nechama, and there should be nacham, or double nechama for all those who are Rachmana Litzlan in that kind of situation. And there should be a refuah shalema or kreva, where they were in a time where there will be no more chayli, and there will be no more tzaras, and no more tzar, v'chulu v'chulu. And there should be taken from Miyad Mamish. On this Yud Alef Nissan, before Chag Pesach, there should be a geula ha'amitis v'hashlema taken from Miyad Mamish. L'chaim.
We now call upon the Rosh Hashiva of Yeshivas Lubavitch in Cincinnati, Harav Gershon Afton.
L'chaim achai v'rei achsidim b'chol ha'olam kuloi. L'chaim v'livrocha. L'chaim Yud Alef Nissan Tovshin Pei. L'chaim to each and every one of you, to each and every one of us. L'chaim Baruch atah Adonai Elel Melech Olam Shakel Niyeh B'Dvorei. I want to bring to your attention a story that probably never happened, but we can imagine what it would look like if such a story did happen. Imagine a news reporter comes down to Mitzrayim in the year 2448, and he had heard about that there was this group of Yidden that were slaves in Mitzrayim, 200 years slaving away, and he's coming to figure out life. And he's trying to do a full report on the life of the slaves in Egypt. And he comes down and he's interviewing them. And he slowly learns that while even though that they are slaves, everyone sort of figured out a way to adjust and survive the day-to-day life. Life has been figured out. They know what they're doing in the morning. They know what they're doing in the evening. They figured out a way to survive day by day the avdus, the slavery of Mitzrayim. And all of a sudden, things start happening. He starts reporting that this world's in chaos. Water has turned into blood. Frogs are coming out of the river. There are lice all over. There are wild animals and animals dying and people with boils. And there's hail and there's locusts and there's darkness and there's death of the firstborn. And he starts screaming that there is a global epidemic starting from Egypt going around all over the world. It's crazy, it's crazy. The whole world is shaking from these crazy events. Now, you can imagine that everyone watching this and people experiencing this are having tremendous anxiety. Life, the way they knew it, even though that they were slaves, was sort of figured out. And now every month, every week, there's like a new thing, unexpected. A plague of yesterday is not the plague of tomorrow. Everyone is so anxious. And this reporter is reporting and he's getting a lot of views and he's getting a lot of hits. But the world doesn't realize the full story. And once the full story is explained, everything fits into place. The full story is that there was a Moshe Rabbeinu. And this Moshe Rabbeinu knew exactly what's going on. He's bringing these plagues to Mitzrayim so that Yidden can go out of Golos. It's not a world in chaos. It's not a world that's falling apart. It's a Mitzrayim. It's the Klipa of Mitzrayim that's falling apart so that Klal Yisrael can go out of Golos. This is really what's going on. But it's important that the entire world know the whole story, that this is really a Pu'ula of Geula through Moshe Rabbeinu. That this was really an activity that was done to bring about the Shvira, the breaking of the Klipa of Mitzrayim. By knowing the entire story, by having the full perspective, everything comes into play. I'll give you another example. Imagine you have a couple that they're married for many, many years. And unfortunately, they do not have children. They went to doctors, they went to get brachas, but year and year go by and they do not have any children. One day the woman wakes up and the woman starts screaming, "Oy vey, life the way I knew it is just not the same. I'm not feeling well and this thing doesn't fit me and this thing is hurting me. Everything is changing around me. My life, the way we knew it, is in chaos." And the husband gets very scared. "Oy vey, I hope my wife's okay. This better be okay." And they run to the doctor. And the doctor smiles at them and says, "You're so anxious. You think that it's a terrible tragedy what's going on. The truth is, your wife is expecting a young child. And this is all the beginning of future growth." Knowing that information allows us to deal with the chaos that is changing around, but allows the couple not only to deal with it, embrace it, and to realize the tremendous, tremendous brachas which are about to come. Dear Acheinu B'nai Yisrael, Acheinu HaChasidim, the Rebbe prepared us for each and every circumstance. In Tov Nun Alef, Nun Beis, the Rebbe begs us to learn Geula Mashiach, learning the way the world's going to look when Mashiach comes, and learning the Maimarim and Lekutei Siches of Nesi Doireinu, of our Rebbe. When you learn the Siches, you get the full picture. When you see a world in chaos, a world falling apart, you learn the Rebbe's perspective, and you begin to understand that this is not just events which are just taking place randomly. Like the Rebbe explained to us, Russia falling and peace treaties between Russia and America and earthquakes and volcanoes and other events that were taking place in Tov Nun Alef. If you learn the Siches, The Rebbe gives us a perspective that this is all a chelek. This is all a beginning of the Pu'ulos and the Lashon of the Rebbe. We are beginning to see the Mishpatim Tovshin und Beis Hascholas Pu'ulosav Shel Melech HaMashiach Ala Amim. The beginning of the Pu'ula of Melech HaMashiach on all the nations of the world. I am not in any way chas v'sholem minimizing the pain, the suffering, the tsar, the avelos that Klal Yisrael has been going through. At the same time, together with that, just as Rebbe Kiva, when he saw the Churban Beis Hamikdash, he saw Shu'alim Holchuba, he saw foxes running in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. While all the Chachamim were crying, and it's befitting to cry, Rebbe Kiva laughed, because he said, if the first part of the Nevuah is Mekuyim, you could understand that the future part, the part of Geula for sure is going to be Mekuyim. The more we learn Geula Mashiach, the more we realize that everything that's transpiring in the world, whether we understand each detail or not, but we have the right perspective, that this is a perspective of the world advancing towards the Geula, not chas v'sholem going backwards. By the Rebbe, there is no going backwards. It's only getting closer and closer. By now, I can tell you, I have personal experience. I'm not going to get into all the stories. People that I've met, Fruma people, Lubavitcher people, not Lubavitcher people, Freya people, Avdil Goyim. I've met everybody in the last couple of weeks. You get to meet people with social distancing, phone calls, but you get to meet people. And it's almost peh echad. Everyone, when I ask them, what do you think is going on? They say the world is transforming. They just don't know what it's transforming to. They just know that the world is going through a cleansing purification process, and the world is transforming. The world, the way we knew it just a couple weeks ago, is not the way we know it today, and is not going to be the way we know it tomorrow. It's our schus Tayr Chsidim. It's our privilege, Tayr Chsidim, to fill in that gap to people while the world is so anxious. Just that yediyah, just like in Mitzrayim, the yediyah that it's Moshe Rabbeinu doing the makis, bringing the Yidden out of Mitzrayim. Just like the doctor telling this couple that don't be so nervous. Yes, it's painful. Yes, there are changes, but it's part of the blessing of a new child. It's our schus to tell the entire world, Chevra, this is part of the Pu'ulos of Melech HaMashiach. This is a world transforming, not towards backwards, not going backwards. It's transforming to redemption. It's transforming to Geula. And everyone get prepared. Everyone get on board. The world is open. The world is ready. It's unbelievable. Everyone wants to hear what is going on and what does the Rebbe have to say today. So dear Hasidim, let's all take achlata on this special Farbrengen, just to reach out to 10 people. Everyone has 10 people that they know, to let them know the Varme Psura, the war message of the Rebbe, that the world is Kup Mashiach. This is not a theory. It's a fact. It was a nevuah of the Rebbe that the world actually sees. There are certain things with time gets more and more believable, not less. For example, imagine you have a close friend that tells you that his wife is expecting a child, but you don't see it. But with time, it becomes more believable, not less. The simonim are more and more clear. From when the Rebbe told us that the nevuah of Mashiach, the world is now clearer and clearer. As I've mentioned many times, while in the past you had to open up your eyes to see Mashiach, today you have to close your eyes not to see Mashiach. Dear Chassidim, let's get the message out that will save people, begashmias, beruchnias, emotionally, their anxiety. The world wants to know what's really happening. And yes, the world is transforming to Geula. So we're going to celebrate in Mitzvah Hashem this Pesach in Yerushalayim Mir HaKodesh with the Rebbe, v'noichal sham min hazvachim u'min hapsachim l'chaim l'chaim.
L'chaim, l'chaim. There's a story told of a chassid who went into the Rebbe and presented a question, was dealing with a very, very serious, life-threatening issue with his daughter. She was Rahman al-Islam diagnosed with the worst of the worst. And the doctors were giving very, very slim chances for her survival. And there was a big question whether she should have an operation to remove the tumor or they should do other methods. The doctors were skeptical about both, but he would no way would make that decision without consulting with the Rebbe. And this wasn't a simple situation. This was a daughter that they waited many years, which is a story in itself, how she was born with the bracha of the Rebbe after many years of the marriage. And finally here they had this bracha. And now this great challenge that they were facing now of a real life-threatening situation. A Yechidus was arranged, and he comes into Yechidus. It was the end of the month of Adar. And he begins crying and putting up a whole scene and asking the Rebbe, and he didn't even have a chance to express his real question. He was just talking about his agony, his pain, his suffering. How can this happen? And he's asking for the Rebbe for guidance and a bracha. And the Rebbe just looks up and says, it's the month of Adar. It's a time of an ahapichu. May it all be transformed to goodness. And he again repeats his words, and this time he's been crying more because apparently he wasn't feeling that the Rebbe is answering his dilemma. And then the Rebbe looks up and says, you want to bring Marash Chayre into this room? Do you think that Marash Chayre will help your daughter get better? And the Rebbe again repeated, it's the month of Adar, and the Rebbe made with his hands, V'nahapichu. Everything will be transformed for revealed goodness. And the Yechidus concluded. He walks out of the Rebbe's room, all overwhelmed of this experience he just now had, those few short minutes in the Rebbe's room, and he starts recollecting his thoughts, and he can't imagine. He walked out of the Rebbe, but he doesn't have his answer. He has to get back to the doctors. What method are they going to use for the healing? He runs into Maskiris to Rabbi Grunner, and mentioning Rabbi Grunner, we take this opportunity to join with Chassidim the world over and wishing Harav Yehudalei b'menucha rachel refuah shleima ukreva. Take it from Yad Mamish now. He walks into Rabbi Grunner and he asks that he must go again into the Rebbe. Rabbi Grunner says, you can't do that. If you want, you can write a note. He goes into the small zal. He writes a note asking the Rebbe, should I operate? Or should we operate, or should we use other methodology, other medical methods? Rabbi Grunner takes the zettel, and a short while later, the Rebbe responds, I've already answered him to his question. Now he was totally overwhelmed. He needs a clear answer. So he tells Rabbi Grunner, I still don't have an answer. Rabbi Grunner says, I can only repeat to you, I don't know what the Rebbe told you in Yechidus. That you have to know. I'm just repeating to you what the Rebbe answered to your question. If you have any other questions, you can write to the Rebbe. He writes again, and the Rebbe this time responds that if you insist on asking, then the guidance is to consult with another doctor and do according to the majority of doctors' opinions. He asks Rabbi Grunner, what does the Rebbe mean if you insist to ask? Rabbi Grunner says, I can't tell you, I'm only repeating to you the Rebbe's words. Maybe you should have asked, you shouldn't have asked, but this is what the Rebbe answered. He consulted with a family doctor who he knew for many years before, and that doctor suggested to go ahead with the operation. They went to Boston, one of the biggest hospitals, and over there they scheduled the operation. The day of the operation came, was great tension, great anxiousness to see what will happen with the turn of events. It was very, very critical. The operation began, and after a while, when they're sitting in the waiting room, suddenly the door bursts open, the doctors come running in, they're beyond themselves, and they share that they actually opened up, and there's no tumor. Parents were beyond themselves. They could not imagine what they're hearing. No tumor. So can we go see our daughter? I said, no, it's time. It takes time for her to recuperate and to get back to herself. An hour, 2, 3, many hours pass. The doctors say she hasn't woken up yet. It was a bit unusual, but not extraordinary unusual, until night fell and the morning came around and she still hasn't woken up. Here the doctors were beyond themselves and they said, well, this can happen and there's no way we can tell when she will wake up. He began rethinking the turn of events and reflecting on the answers he got from the Rebbe, in which the Rebbe said, V'nahapechu, and the Rebbe said to believe in the supernatural. I should have picked up on those messages. I should have acted on it. He then, it's a bit of a longer story, just getting to the summary of the story because it's connected to Pesach. A short while later, she did wake up, and here there was a bit of a loss of memory, and the doctor said things will come back as time goes on, and they were suggesting to do other treatments to speed up her recovery. And here they recognized already they're not doing any moves without going to the Rebbe. It was right before Pesach. It was decided that she would stay with her in the hospital and he would go to New York to be by the Rebbe for Pesach. They had a relative in Flatbush, and Achron Shel Pesach he came to Sudas Mashiach to be by the Rebbe's Farbrengen on Achron Shel Pesach. In the middle of the Farbrengen, he's sitting there in the crowd, and suddenly the Chassidim near him, he didn't understand much. He was originally from France, and France or Morocco, I'm not sure. Originally it was Morocco, and then he moved to France, and he didn't really understand much. But at one point, the Chassidim are telling him, the Rebbe is calling on you. And the Rebbe called him up, and the Rebbe handed him a piece of matzah from the Rebbe's matzah. And the Rebbe said, matzah, the Zohar says, is michla das vasa, food of healing. This is for your daughter. Then the Rebbe took another piece of matzah, and the Rebbe gave him and said, matzah is known in the Zohar as nichla de mehemnusa, food of faith and emunah. This is for you. Your daughter need not suffer for your lack of emunah. He was very overwhelmed and he couldn't even understand what the Rebbe was saying. And when the Maskirim explained it and responded, gave it back to him, and everyone jumped to him to know the details. But luckily he sat down, the Farbrengen continued. And he was very shaken with the words of the Rebbe. How the Rebbe is telling him the power of emunah, the power of bitachon, how that could have literally avoided the entire experience he had with his daughter. The Farbrengen ended and Keshe Bracha came around. And he goes up and gets Keshe Bracha from the Rebbe. And as he approaches the Rebbe, this time the Rebbe smiles at him. And the Rebbe was saying something to the effect that the Jews of Morocco have a special day, I don't remember the details, right after Pesach. And basically the Rebbe said the upcoming month is the month of Refuah. Iyur is Ani Hashem Refecha, but you can do of an Ahapechu. You can bring about the Ani Hashem Refecha prior to that and bring it here and now, and it should be a refuah for your daughter. She healed Baruch Hashem and established her own family with children and grandchildren. Today is a time where we all need to connect and recognize the power of emunah, the power of bitachon. In the Rebbe's teachings, in the Rebbe's ignorance and countless sichos, the Rebbe is urging us to recognize it's not only to give us comfort, it's not only to give us peace of mind, it's not only to give us a calm perspective and an easy path when facing a challenge, but the Rebbe tells us it is crucial. It is something that has the power to transform something less than positive to making it extremely positive. Something that is, in the moment, seeming very dark, to bring on the greatest of light. How? With the power of bitachon, the power of emunah. Trach gut vet zayin gut is not a pisgam. It's not a nice idea, a nice concept. It is crucial to life. It literally brings about transformations. Miyogei l'simcha me'evel l'yontev. Literally, today more than ever, we all need to unite for ourselves, for our families, to be mighty strong in emunah bitachon. We have perfect faith that the Eibush is a Kel Yachol and is not mugbal in any Levusha Teva. He created Teva. And He can bring about Yeshua's Hashem Keheref Ayin. Not can, but we perfectly believe that He will. And the Tanakh Gud itself has the power, and especially when it is from the Rabbim. It is something that the Rebbe gives tremendous power to a Rabbim, mentioning that in the time of Lamed Ches, when the Rebbe was not well and the Chassidim sending well wishes to the Rebbe, and the Chassidim were davening the world over, the Rebbe then wrote a letter and said, Tfilas HaRabbim Amdali. A very powerful word. The Rebbe says the Tfilah of the Rabbim, this is what brought about the Yeshua then. So the Tfilah of Chassidim all over and Yidden the world over. And when it is fueled and imbued and empowered with a real bitachon as ved zayin gut, we know that the Eibishter will transform all of this to Te'era v'simcha v'sasa v'ikar. It surely has the power and will bring about the Yerefuah and Yeshua l'chol ha'olam kulei, the ultimate Yeshua we should see. Moshiach shel Yisrael, the Rebbe be'his galus, Yavai v'yigoleinu v'yerichenu k'namius la'artzeinu. Now, mamish, gut yontif and afreilich yontif.